Hi, it's Jeff Henderson again with another of our interviews with members who have made notable contributions to the life of Sandringham Yacht Club. Today we have Steve O'Sullivan, more commonly known as Sauce to all his mates, and Steve's been a past Commodore, life member and a member for over 52 years. So congratulations, Sauce, and great to see you.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, it's good. It's great to be here.
It is.
Thank you.
What we do with these things, Sauce, we just go through a few bits of history. I've got some pertinent questions, hopefully none that will embarrass you too much. Could we perhaps start with your early days here as a member? I know you started when you were a teenager. Perhaps you could fill us in a little bit more on your activities there.
Yes. Well, firstly, I was around 18, 19, and through scuba diving, I met a guy called Gary Fisher, who was a member here at the time. So Gary, I've formed a friendship with him. Gary brought me down here, and you know, as a young bloke, it was wow, I couldn't believe it, you know. And then I started coming down regularly with him. Got to know a few people around the place, and back then you're going to be signed in by one member no more than 3 times a month. So we used to do the rounds of the threes, and eventually, I think Paula used to run the food and beverage, and she wrote me in one year to be Father Christmas. This is before I was a member, and I probably was around 20 or maybe 21 thereabouts, and she, I did a good job, and after that she said that it's about time you became a member, and I couldn't, well, that was wow, because it was a real men's club back then. It was like you'd made it in life, and so I joined. I think my nominator was Gary, and from memory, I think my seconder was Ron White, and joined the club, went through the old process, sit outside. I think, general committee, you get the grilling and all the rest of it, as you well know, and I was accepted. And from then, I had a friendship with Ralph White, and in those days then we did a lot of sailing. I did all the ocean races with the Whites on Shenandoah, Sydney Hobart, Melbourne Hobart, the West Coasters, Port Fairy, Portland, Stanley, Grassy, all those ones, and I used to do around the sticks with them as well. I also did Saturday racing with Bruce Moore on Blue Moves. Okay. I did with Greenie on Lawless. I did some round the sticks with him and at Devonport. So I did a lot of sailing, but at the same time, we're always up in the bar, and the motorboaty guys always, back then the club shut between 2:30 and 4:30 on a Saturday, Sunday. So those guys would all go out in the boat, so they'd cart us out with them. So we'd be driving their boats while they were on the whiskey, and, so it was a lot of fun. So we were sort of doing both. Started yachting then, but was also enjoyed the motorboating side of it. Mm.
You've owned quite a few motorboats yourself, haven't you?
Yes, over the time, yes. I've never owned a yacht, I've always crewed, but I've started with a 21-foot Savage Bluefin, which was in the old marina, and back then it was half full with a waiting list, and you had to ask yard mooring, which was Keith Ellis at the time, and I rang Keith on the weekend. I just bought this boat, can I get it? Made me sweat, then said yes, okay. And then I've had Bruce Raywood's Baron Joey, which was a Laco.
A question for you, whilst we're talking about Baron Joey, I mean, a fantastic boat. Sauce, I believe there was an occasion when you had a little difficulty spelling out the phonetic name of Baron Joey.
Yes.
Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about that, or should we just leave that perhaps for later?
I can tell you a little bit about that while you've got it. This was on the Investigator, which used to be a great log trial. It was Friday night from here to Williams to Royal Vic, Saturday Royal Vic to Royal Geelong, and then Geelong back to Sandy on the Sunday, and we're probably closer to Geelong. And back then, you're having a beer at breakfast, so they were big days. And anyway, I had to get on the radio for something, and it was Melbourne Radio asked me, "Could please spell it phonetically, and I tried it, Barrenjoey, so it's a long name. So I got about 3/4 of the way through, and I thought, oh, stuff you, forget it, and I just hung up on it. But yeah, no, look, it was fun. We used to have a lot of fun with those sort of long log trials.
And your current boat, Heatwave, you
yes.
still have Heatwave?
Yes, still have Heatwave. That's a Bertram 42, which I bought off Bill Vorton, who had it from new. So yeah, it's great. It's nice to. I had successive timber boats with no real luxuries in them, and so it's really nice to have a boat where you can make a cup of coffee and go use you got a head and all those sort of things and a nice comfortable bed. So it's good.
Yeah. During your tenure as Commodore, I know it was a pretty trying time at the club. Perhaps you'd like to expand a little bit more on that. We weren't looking all that hot for a while, were we?
No, look, the financially the club was, we're in a little bit of distress. We were struggling to really pay $32,000 a year in the interest payments. It was a reasonably tough time. There was a lot. Our credit rating wasn't good. There was a lot of outstanding debts, and I took it to the AGM, and we sold off some of the extra pens to reduce the debt. We got rid of that. I think it was $320,000 at the time, which was a lot of money back then. And we sort of put the club back on a debt-free path, and then moved forward with a lot of changes within the club. We made a lot of changes around management. Employed Scott Eccleston. And then employed Richard Hewitt, who's now our current CEO. Richard started as food and beverage manager. Therese still here. We put her on back then, and slowly just rebuilt the club. There was room in the marina, and along with Scott, we put another 56 pens in, which we did under budget, on time, and only had to sell or lease out for I think 15 years at commercial rates, half of them. So we sort of sold half, kept half. So that's been a great, that really started to get things going. And then the club just started to get a bit of vibe, and we started attracting members from other clubs, and the smoking ban that others put in too quickly generated a lot of new members and boats. And along with the brokers, just things started to move, and we got on a good footing again.
I always remember it as the turnaround time for the club when we put truly professional management into place.
Yes.
And in my opinion, we've never looked back since then. And
No.
I think it was extremely commendable.
It was a big decision. There was a lot of money, and there's a lot of people thought, how can we pay all this? And at the very start, we employed a temporary manager, someone who came with great credentials. And back then, it was about 6 months while we reset the office and reset our systems and really got the office part running smoothly. And back then, there was $10,000 a month, and that was wow. But that was the start of just having to bite the bullet and push us in the right direction.
Worth every cent. Every cent.
Yeah.
You're also involved in the Osaka, Melbourne to Osaka yacht
Yes.
race. You chaired the panel there for quite a few years. Still going today, so it's fantastic.
It is good, isn't it? It sort of dropped a bit, but now it's back, and it's great to see it back. It's a good, fun event, and the people that compete in it really enjoy it, and it's a good test of people's sailing skills and knowledge. And if you can do Melbourne all the way to Osaka two-handed, then they put a great treat on at the other end as well. So no, it's a great event.
Memorable characters, Sauce. There's a lot of them in the club. I mean, you mentioned before you sailed with Ron and Ralph White.
Yeah.
You can't get two more memorable characters than those, can you?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. Lot of great yachties. Graham Ainley, he was a great friend. Sadly, he's gone. But look, the list goes on and on. It's pretty hard to name them. You could probably sit down and write a foolscap page full of them. But there has been a lot of characters come and go over the years.
And I think we all sing out of the same hymn book when we say probably the most important thing we ever did in the club was the marina.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we've just gone gangbusters from there, haven't we?
We have. And, it's full. And there was always a little bit of opposition about reselling the pens, but reselling them gave the cash. So we borrowed the money off ourselves. We didn't borrow it off anybody else, which means you weren't paying interest, and it just got things done. And now up the track, we've got a new clubhouse. There's more renovations going on, which are great. The marina is probably 85, 90% back to the club, and now it just generates a sort of revenue. The club doesn't rely on food and beverage as much, so and that'll go on forever.
It does.
You know, so it's like an endowment.
You see the future as being pretty bright.
I think so. Can't see anything going wrong. I think great membership strong. The type of members we're getting are all participating members. People have a good fun here, and the club puts on a good. The club's good at doing things properly.
It is.
It attracts members. People come in, have a good time. So yeah, like fundamentally, I think we are the best yacht club in Australia. Certainly the biggest in Victoria, and in the top 2 or 3 in Australia. So there's a lot to be said about everybody's efforts. It's not just me, or we all had a lot of help in this journey. A lot of dedicated volunteers, and that's been our strength, is the volunteers. This club's had a terrific amount of really good volunteers that put a lot of time in and supply a lot of skills. So,
Well, Sos, it does augur well for the future, and I must congratulate you. Number one, on your recent life membership, which was very well deserved.
Thank you.
And the efforts that you've put in over the years have now truly been recognised. So thank you very much.
No, it's a pleasure. No, it's probably 20 odd years on different committees. So, yeah, I'm very, very happy and very proud of the club and proud to be a member. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.